Hey y'all, this is Sean. And so before we get into this week's episode, I want to take a moment to speak from the heart about something that has really been sitting heavy with me over the last several weeks. And so if you subscribe to our newsletter, our biweekly newsletter, you know that within our last newsletter, I opened up about a time in my life when I was unhoused as a teen. And so if you've been a listener of this podcast for a while, you know that I also did a solo episode back in season 1, episode 3, where I talked in great detail about my experience with being unhoused. And so within that experience, I also talked about how one person's act of kindness by him offering me a place to stay where I had nowhere else to go completely shifted the trajectory of my life. And so that experience has never left me. It's shaped how I carry compassion, right? It's the reason why I center care in every single thing that I do. And truthfully and honestly, like it really helped shape the mission of Dem Bois. And so when I founded Dem Bois in 2016, it wasn't just about setting up a nonprofit, right? It was about creating like the kind of care and connection that can change somebody's life, just like it once did for me. And so, community, I'm calling out on my community to do what community does, right? And so many a times, within this podcast, within these past episodes, I've reached out to community and said, hey, community, do what you do, right? I've gotten guests because of this call to community, and I've gotten other things that Dem Bois needed because I called out to my community. And so this instance is not anything different, right? And so a fellow trans man of color, someone who Dem Bois has supported in the past, is scheduled to have gender affirming surgery on June 20th, 2025. And he's currently unhoused. And so unless he secures stable housing, he will not be able to move forward with his surgery because he just doesn't have a place to rest and recover. Right. And so this person has received care packages through our programs. He's also been a past guest on this very podcast. And so for his safety, we're going to keep his identity private. But I promise you, his story, his voice has already touched many of you who've heard this episode and have been impacted by the work that he does in the community. And so this is a moment, community, where he needs us. And so we're looking to raise $5,000 throughout the month of May and into June to help cover his housing costs. And this is not just about him getting through the surgery, right? This is about healing and safety with dignity and with his peace of mind. And so for folks who've had gender affirming surgeries and for folks who don't want to have it, but there are folks who do. And so for folks who've already had gender affirming surgery, myself included, the healing journey is important. It's a stressful moment, but it's also important to have a place to sit, have a place to rest, and not just your body, but rest your mind. And so I always say throughout this podcast and then through other conversations within my life, I always say I'm my brother's keeper. And so this is exactly what being my brother's keeper looks like in practice. So community, I'm asking if you're able to give. I'm asking you to show up for this, brother. So you can go onto our website. That's dembois.org. That's dembois.org. Click the link to say donate, right? And so we have people streaming this episode, right? And so if 100 people give just $10, right? Imagine that impact. And then if those 100 people tell one other person, which turns into another 100 people, right? And this compounds over the time that we're looking to raise funds. And so if maybe you don't have funds, but you say, hey, Sean, I got some leads on housing, or I have some leads on resources, then you can reach out to us and share some of those resources. So you can reach out via email. That's hello@dembois.org. That's HELLO@dembois.org. Right. And if you can't give, if you don't have any resources that you can share, you can also share this message with someone who can. Right. And so this is very important that we show up for community. And it's about helping somebody get back on their feet. It's not just about that. It's helping somebody get back on their feet, but it's not just about that. It's not about charity. This is about community. And so let's show up for someone that in a way that we would want someone to show up for us. And so I'm recording this, and this is May 2025. And so if you listen to this in the future, it's not too late to give, right? Because there's going to be always someone in our community that needs our help. And so that money will go towards someone else, even if you're listening to this in the future. And so I want to say thank you for listening to this message. This is something that's been very, very heavy on my heart over the last several weeks. If you would like to know more information, whether that's location of where this person is located, also you can reach out to us via email, and that's hello@dembois.org. That's HELLO at dembois.org. And so I want to say thank you for listening to this message, and thank you for being a part of Dem Bois family. And so on to the episode. My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is a social entrepreneur. He is also the founder and CEO of WellMoney. Within this episode, we discuss his experiences and perspectives on life, including his connections to South Africa and the queer community there. He goes into talking about the cultural differences and challenges of living in South Africa, including language barriers and xenophobia. He also shares his journey as a social entrepreneur and the impact of his documentary, Still Black, and the impact that it has on the Black trans community. He also emphasized the importance of visibility and representation in media for trans individuals and the joy of parenting and community. I know that you will enjoy this episode.
Dem Bois, Dem Bois, amplifying trans men and color voices. Yeah, we here making noise, yeah, making noise, yeah. Visibility equals possibility. You know we Dem Bois, yeah, Dem Bois, yeah.
Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. My next guest is a serial social entrepreneur, founder and CEO of WellMoney, previously co-founded a crowdfunding platform called Appolition and Trans H4CK. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sean. I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you for having me. I look forward to our conversation.
Yes, for sure. So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself for folks, your name and pronouns?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Dr. Kortney Ziegler. I am what you said, a social entrepreneur. My pronouns are he, him. And I've been in the space of work that I do building since my late 20s. And I turned 44 years old next week. So it's been quite some time doing the work that I do. So I'm excited to share about that with you today and my personal life as well.
Yes, and happy early birthday. I'll be 44 soon after you, and so it's this different level. It's this different stage in life, right? I feel like we grown now, so it feels different.
John, we're officially middle aged.
Oh no!
Official.
Wait a minute, I said grown.
Depending on who you talk to, but I'm okay with being in the middle of my 40s now. I'm so grateful to be here, and. Man, you're right. It's been a journey of growth and a lot of things that I feel like has led me to be the man that I am at this age. And I'm very grateful to be at this age. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to say middle age. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for that.
Fact, I know. Me either. I told my wife the other day, I was like, some people say middle age is about 50. And some people say middle age is about 45. I was like, I think I'm officially middle age now. Like, I feel like that doesn't mean I'm old. It just means that that's where I'm at in my life, or that's where I'm positioning myself, which is totally fine. But yay, 44.
Yes, it comes with a little bit of experience, right? I feel like now I'm giving like that old man advice to folks. I'm like, oh damn, I am at that age where I done been through some shit, so now I can be like, okay, this is my advice for you. So
no, exactly, and what a privilege it is to be at that old man age to give that advice. I didn't fully understand it until I reached this age to be like, oh my God, like. And I feel like it's a very particular age, like or decade of life, where like the wisdom and advice comes out like unsolicited. It's kind of like I don't even like want it to come out, but it comes out. Yes. I'm like, once you hit this age, you should change it. Like, but I'm so grateful to be that age in life where I've accumulated a lot of wisdom and lived experience to pass on to other people. I feel like if that is not what aging is, then I really don't understand what it is. If you're not growing older to impart wisdom onto people who are younger than you, things that you have learned as a human being, despite race, gender, all these things, I'm so grateful to pass those things on now. And I embody it. Like I take it on. Like, like I have no problem sharing my age with people, and having that privilege as like an elder to be like, you shouldn't do this, you should do this. So
Yeah. And
I love it.
yeah, you know what? Listening to you say it, I feel like I should embrace it more, right? Because there's so many of us that didn't make it. And so many of our
Exactly.
trans siblings that did not make it. And so just to be sitting in this privilege to say I'm an elder, a trans elder. So
Exactly. Yeah.
thank you for that perspective. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I've been in a place in my life of trying to take inventory and stock of who I am and my role on the planet and all of these things. And I think in my 30s was when like a lot of like trans discourse and dialogue was much more mainstream. And I feel that my work has led up to that catalyst. But it also put me in a place to be like, wow, you're an elder, you're a wiser, even if you're only like 33 at this age, right? So I've carried this for like 10 years and be like, oh my God, I'm an elder. Like you said, a lot of people don't live to be our age. And even if they do, there comes with like consequences and like hard spaces and maybe like things that like other people don't have to deal with to continue aging. And I'm so grateful that like I'm aging. Um, I'm so grateful that I'm getting older. I've never imagined that I would be so happy for this, but like it's a gift in my life now. I wake up every day to be like, oh my God, like I'm turning 44 years old next week. And I've lived every year of my life, December 15th, knowing that I'm aging, but like, wow, like and I can take care of myself also. I'm very privileged to have that. So yeah, I'm taking on all the beauty that it is to be older and aging in my birthday, to be trans, to be Black, to be American, to come from poverty, to have some sort of success. And it's all a beautiful thing that's happening in my life right now. So
You said that you were a catalyst, and I agree with you. I'm gonna say why, because one thing that you don't know, and I've kind of been like following your work for a while, but I transitioned almost 12 years, started to medically transition almost 12 years ago now, and you produced a documentary from Black Star Media, Still Black, and it portrayed the lives of Black trans men and older trans men, and so that really opened my eyes. And that's when I began to first transition. I was like, whoa, I never knew that existed. I did not know. When I hear younger folks now saying, I didn't know there were trans elders, I was that person at that time. Like, wow, like I had no idea of the lives of folks because I hadn't seen it before. And so I feel like you are that catalyst of like opening up the doors for folks to understand what it means to be trans and what it is to look forward to in being a trans elder as we're talking about aging.
yeah, and thank you for sharing that like beautiful, vulnerable part of your journey and your history, and how I've been connected to that. Like, I'm like very, very grateful again, for these moments where the work that I've done has such a positive impact beyond like numbers and data, and like we help this X many people, and like that's great. But I feel like with Still Black in particular, I've met so many Black transgender men across the planet who are like, thank you, Kortney, for whatever. And so I'm so grateful for to hear that, like, yeah, because I feel like before that film, I was going through my own medical transition when I was making that film. And there was nothing that existed that talked about Black transgender, transsexual, whatever you want to say, men. The only thing that existed about Black trans people was Paris is Burning at that point. And that was before I was born. And so like, I'm very grateful and honored to be a conduit to have inspired people to live in their truth. But also, it took me some time to know that like my work has provided value and to be okay with saying that I am a catalyst. So maybe if you had talked to me maybe when I was like 35 or 30, I would have never said, you know what, like my work has ushered in a new wave of ideology and work I would have never been that person. I would have been much more questioning of my value and power. Now, at this age, I'm like, I know what I've done. I also have a scholarly background to back it up. I know when people talk to me about how my work has impacted them, that I take that with me as a beautiful moment in life to make someone's life better, who's not a lover, who's not a friend, who's none of those things, just a regular ass human being. So you're making the world a better place for humans, but also it took me years to know who I am and to be like, yeah, like my work started a lot of shit. That happened in my 40s. It took a long time. I never did that. So thank you for noticing that and asking me to expand upon that or sharing why I said that. So I really appreciate that, Sean. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. And so for folks that's listening, how can they haven't seen it. How can they check out Still Black?
Yeah, so I still keep a website up from the day that I made the film and distributed it. Stillblackfilm.org. You can message me. I will get it. I still send out copies to this day of the film itself. And yeah, even to this day, I'm so grateful that people still buy it and want to see it. So that still happens. Like even last week, a postdoc student at an Ivy League school, a Black trans man, asked for my film, and a lot of people who are scholars or educators or activists, who are like you and I, Black trans men, who I don't think even to this day still get a lot of support and recognition in the ways that we should, still defer to my film and my work to boost their work. And I'm so grateful for that. So yeah, stillblackfilm.org, or you can email me at Kortney@well-money.com.
And it's so relevant even today, right? And I feel like even for folks who aren't trans identified and they want to just listen to it or watch it, because it gives a lot of information into our lives, right? And it's kind of what started Dem Bois Podcast, because we don't have these outlets to share our stories, right? And so, when folks thinking about, if you just looking at media, looking at the news, it's all this negative connotations about what it is to be trans, right? And this film gives an insight up to for one, we're not monolithic, we're not all the same, and two, it gives this insight into our lives and how we live and our experiences. It just was a beautiful thing for me to witness. And it wasn't like I was like, oh, okay, I want my life to be exactly like that, but it was kind of like a blueprint of like, wow, I can age, or wow, I can do this in my life and identify as trans and queer and all of these things, right? And so I want to say thank you for doing the work and putting that out there for folks to be able to absorb and to learn from.
And thank you for saying that and carrying the torch moving forward and building off of these, because even like I said, you approached me at least 2 years ago to be on your podcast. And again, the things that I've been very lucky to build in my life, I've always done with my own money, my own resources. Now it's bit me in the ass. I've learned not to do that. But in that time, I was in that space still where I didn't know how to delegate to others to sustain the vision that I wanted to build in the world. So it got lost in the shuffle. Now I can do these things because I value myself more. I take time for myself, and I also don't allow myself to be burdened by workloads or other things that take away from documenting my story and my lived experience. And so again, I'm very 100% grateful that you do the work that you do and recognize that I think even like I said, to this day, there's still a small subset of trans identity that I don't think gets enough space to articulate the grander identity of being transgender or non-binary or whatever we want to call it, depending on the day. And it's Black trans men. And I used to be 100% involved, and sometimes I'll get hella butthurt because my work would be excluded or relegated to someone else's work that wasn't theirs, it was mine. But now, because of maturity and a family and knowing my value, and also realizing that, like, I think for men who are Black trans men in particular, the journey of people understanding our lived experience is different than other people. And I spent a lot of my career kind of being like, well, you guys did this and we did, and I've done this, and like, what? It's not the same. You have to be aware of social, economic, gender, rules, politics, all these things to get our stories out there. So yeah, like I said, I know that now I could say that like I recognize my value and my part in launching a lot of things, but I'm so grateful to live in my house in South Africa and not talk about trans shit ever. I don't talk about trans anything anymore in my life, like, because other people do now. They've carried the torch, taken up on the mantle, people like you. So I'm very, very grateful. And still to this day, there's I can't even point on my finger how much media is geared towards Black American transgender men. It's still very minuscule. And I still think that's a problem. I just don't do that work of advocating for that anymore because I'm an old man now and it's not my space. I've done the work, so.
Hey, this is Joel Simu, production assistant for Dem Bois Podcast. Looking to connect with others in the community? You'll love our brand new space, Dem Bois Community Voices, on Facebook. We created this private, moderated group specifically for trans men of color to share experiences, discuss episodes, and support each other on this journey. Ready to join us? Just click the link in our show notes to become part of this growing community.
I went to college at 16 years old at UC Santa Cruz, and I come from poverty. I come from nothing. And I had work study at UC Santa Cruz. And my first job ever was working in the computer lab because I have a computer science degree, and also working in the LGBT. At that time, I went to high school in 1999, so it was the LGBT Center. It was the first time that I saw a book that guided my trajectory of my gender. There's a book, and I'm sure you know this, Sean, like there's a book it was produced in the 90s, and it's called FTM, it just says FTM, and there's a white trans man on the cover in a denim shirt and a profile. It was the first time I saw myself. I was like, I am a trans man. I am transsexual. I am female to male, whatever you want to call it. In the late 90s, that was me. And that was the first time I started to, at 16 years old, living my truth, who I am. So I'm so grateful to have produced work that shares my story, but also makes other people's journeys like me much easier and much more supported. So long story short, thank you, Sean. So.
Yes, thank you. It was a moment in my life, and it really helped me, and it really helped usher in who I am today. And I'm so glad to kind of like carry that torch, right? And we are old man, so it's like it's really great to like carry that torch. And so because I always say visibility equals possibility. And so when folks, and it's not about, in the media, they say, oh, you're influencing our children. No, it's about being visible so folks can get an idea of who they may be. Right. You don't know. You think, oh, I'm tripping, or I don't see anything. So maybe I'm crazy, or maybe I don't want to say crazy, but like maybe I'm mistaken of who I am. No, but when you see it, you're like, wait, just like you said with this book, like, no, that's me, right? And it gives you that sense of self, and it helps usher in, who you are and being authentic. And so, yes, I'm grateful. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I've been chasing you down for 2 years or so, is because like your work really shifted who I was as a person. And I really wanted to bring you here and highlight you and who you are. And so, yes, thank you for doing the work. And so you mentioned being located in South Africa, and we talked about this prior to recording. I love it there. And so how is you, but you said that you don't talk about being trans anymore, but how is queer community in South Africa?
Thank you for asking that question. Before I moved to Africa, I thought I was African. Like I'm 100% pan. Like my PhD is in Black American people, so I have not only credentials but also like this affinity and love affection with Blackness. Moving to Africa has radically shifted everything that I knew about um, being a descendant of Africa. We could have our own podcast about this so many ways, but long story short, I'm a foreigner here in South Africa. I'm an American foreigner, which affords me some privileges that maybe other people don't. But at the end of the day, I'm still an immigrant in another country, as an American. It's a huge experience, a very like multi-level, a deep experience. But one of the beautiful things about South Africa is like they have legalized gay marriage even before the United States of America, where I'm from. And like, even though there's lots of still draconian ways of thinking on the continent, like, oh my God, to be gay it comes from the West, America and the UK. No, South Africa has so much. It produces its own content on television and the media, and it centers gay people so much, and Black trans men, like who also were a fan of my work, which I'm so grateful to be in this country because I screen Still Black here, and people are like, "Oh my God!" Like I transitioned because of your film, which is wild. But like, it's a very progressive country, sexually, and it's a democracy. So I feel very safe here. Even like you can get a visa as a foreigner based on if you have a life partner. If your partner is trans, non-binary, gay, lesbian, whatever. And I think it's like the only African country that provides that. So I wouldn't live anywhere else on the continent. I'm being 100%, but I've been so blessed to be in a place where I don't have to tell people who I am, because a lot of my identity in my professional work in America is basically like, I've done this for trans people. Like even though I was moving away from that with my last two companies, when people like look me up or who are you as a trans, the first thing in Africa, nobody knows who I am. I tell them if I want to afford them that gift. And I'm living in a country where there are Black trans men and gay men and lesbians who advocate for people like me without them knowing who I am. Like, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Like, I'm not trying to live secretly or stealth or any of those things. I'm also not trying to. I think in America, with my work, before my 40s, I had to like always out myself to like add some legitimacy to the work that I was doing. If I'm working for trans people, people have to know that I'm a Black trans man. Like, if I'm working for poor people, people have to know I'm a poor person from Compton, but I'm a Black trans man. So I stopped kind of associating with those things like maybe 5 years ago in my professional journey. But living on the continent in South Africa, like I never have to tell people who I am. And even if I did, in the spaces that I have done that, because my wife is a queer woman and I want to give her the space to talk about who she's with and who she loves, I have rights, even as a foreigner who's not a citizen. No one's gonna like, it may happen, but like LGBTQIAA people are protected here, and it's a beautiful place. And I feel like people don't really understand that. Even Africans themselves don't fully understand the beauty that is South Africa for leading the continent about different ways of loving. So it's hard here in a lot of ways, but my gender and sexuality it's no issue here at all. So
yeah, thank you for explaining that for folks. I know before we started, you kind of asked me that question of why do I love it there, and you said it beautifully, and it's some of the reasons why I love it there. And I didn't have to. And one of the things was too was like not explaining my Blackness, right? And it's different. because you're not born there and being an immigrant there or whatever, or even visiting on vacation or whatever. But it's a difference from being here in the United States and being there. It's just like I could just walk around and be black. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I felt comfortable. And so that was a blessing. And so I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing that for folks who didn't know.
What's interesting here, I lived here 6 years, is that like, it's not like being a Black person from our country. Because even though I was like adamant about like, I've always wanted to live outside America. As a person who can afford to, before I am officially a senior citizen, and my 40s allowed me to do that. But it's lovely to live in a predominantly Black country, but their idea of Black is not my idea of Black. And it's been, I think that's where the struggle lies. I'm so grateful to live here in South Africa and to be able to afford to live here in terms of visas and all the other things you have to do as an immigrant. It's weird to say that, as an immigrant, right, to a foreign country. But people will come up to me and speak Zulu or Sutu, and I can't reply. And it's humbling, and it's like very different than our country, where like I can go to, being from California, I can go to DC or the South, and they have different accents than me, but fundamentally we're American and you can understand me. Here, yeah, there's a little bit of I don't know how to explain it, but like the romanticism wears off once you actually live in the country. Like, it's nice and beautiful and great. It's Black. They party, it's December. Oh, all those things are great. But once you actually live in the country and you deal with the xenophobia of South Africans, and also like the dislike of other Black Africans in the country, which you learn living here, it's a lot to deal with. And so, and again, I'm not saying anything negative. I'm just sharing my lived experience about what it is to be, because the happiness wears off. That's what I want to say. But it's not a bad thing. It's just like a adjustment to being an immigrant, which I'm sure people who travel to America to live in our country probably feel the same way, which I've never understood because it wasn't my experience until now. Now it's my experience. Like, oh my God, like I'm a foreigner in a foreign country. I don't speak their language. And even though people speak English here, it's one of their official languages. There's still closeness and people speaking African Black languages here that I don't have. So you always feel a little bit of an outsider more than like inclusive, which I think in America, if I was a foreigner coming from, let's say, South Africa to America, I think Black Americans are much more welcoming and inclusive to people who are different than us, whereas other people are not the same. So, and that's my honest experience. So, yeah, it's lovely, but it's hard.
Yeah, very interesting. And I know you said like the culture is different. And so the last time I was there in 2023. I stayed for 3.5 weeks, and I went to a comedy show. And so I went there open-minded because I knew I wasn't going to understand the comedy. I just knew it, but I just wanted to experience something different, right? And everybody else around me was laughing and cracking up, and I was like, no, I don't get it. But it was just this good experience of like, okay, I see what you all find funny. I don't get it. But it was just to experience that, right?
Yeah, and like, I think, thank you for echoing that, because I feel like to be a Black person in the diaspora, humor is a part of our culture. Whether we're in Africa, in the Caribbean, or we're in America in like North, South, humor is a part of Black people culture. Jokes about your family, jokes about the world. So I've gone to comedy shows with my wife here, and she's like, oh my God, they speak vernac, which they call like all the Black languages, and they're all vernac. Even though they're different, there's some words that they share. So it's called vernacular. She's like, you won't understand because they speak in vernac. And I've gone and I was like, it sucks because I don't understand the jokes. And being a Black person where humor is a very large part of my cultural identity, it makes me feel even more left out. And so, again, I'm not complaining. I'm just sharing my lived experience, and like I'm actually learning Sutu here because of my wife and my family. But learning an African language is very difficult, and so even though it's trying, they're still being left out culturally in a lot of ways, which I don't think people really give weight to the diaspora. Like I said, I thought I was a Pan-Africanist, and I was like, no, we're not all the same. And until you live in Africa as an American in particular, and not like a person from the West Indies, the Caribbean, as a person from North America, it is a very different experience than what I even thought of as a doctor. So I love it, but it doesn't come without loneliness and maybe like discord between native South Africans and all these things. So it's not the easiest journey of living.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. So from whatever platform that you're listening to this week's episode on, please be sure to give us 5 stars. And if there's something within this episode, whether it's the guest or something that I said, or maybe the guest said that resonated with you, be sure to go and leave us a comment on this episode or leave us a comment on the show. So what happens is, if you feel like it resonated with you, I'm sure there's someone out there who hasn't even heard about Dem Bois Podcast. It may resonate with them, and actually it could save someone's life. To hear these stories, right? Because we believe that visibility equals possibility, but there isn't any possibility if we aren't visible. So if you go and leave comments, the more comments you leave, the more 5-star ratings you leave, then this podcast will be available to more folks to see. And so we want to be visible. We want to be out there. We want folks to know that we're here and that our stories are out there for them to listen to. And so if you could do me a favor, please go ahead and rate the show or leave a comment. Until next time, see you on the next episode.
And I think I've heard this from other Black Americans, particularly who've moved to other countries in Africa, say for example, like West Africa, like Ghana or something, that like, there's this like romantic idea that you have, like, oh my God, like, we're united, we're oppressed, we're the same. But once you're in the space where people who are not anything American, they have nothing about the language that you speak, how you culturally move through the world, how you greet people, how you take care of people, it's all very different. And so those things I'm like kind of learning in a new way, but also kind of imprinting my own culture on top of it to be like, okay, I still have to respect where I'm at, but it's a lonely place in a lot of ways. So, and I feel like being honest about that is very, very important to others, because I'm asked often, like, how do you like South Africa? And I'm like, it's great. The high pitch, and they're like, it's great, but it doesn't come without challenges that I've never had to conquer in my entire life. So
yeah, and you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because, and I never thought about loneliness, because I mean I've only stayed there like 3 weeks and a half, 4 weeks at a time. But one of the things that I did realize is the heaviness that it carries of being an American and the expectation that other folks have of you. And I'm just like, I'm just a nigga in America, excuse me. You know, I'm just saying, right? I don't hold that. How can I put this? I don't give that citizenship as much weight as maybe a white American would, right? And also is like, it's kind of very hard to explain that. Maybe you can kind of maybe give an explanation of what you think I may mean, but it's like there is an expectation of what folks think that Americans are. And we go to there with a little bit of privilege, right? Because of the exchange rate. And so our money holds more weight. Right. And 100%. So, and that's different. I've always had this question of how are we changing when we talk about here in America, it's about gentrification and how is it moving to another country, bringing our weight of our money, and are we gentrifying, right, in another kind of way? So you want to speak on that a little bit more?
No, I'm hyped. Thank you for that question. Because those inquiries like surround, I think that like the idea of Americans coming to South Africa, even Black Americans. There is this assumption that like, oh, you're American. Yeah. And again, I'll be honest, in South Africa, a lot of people try to talk like us, dress like us. They're so excited to meet me. They're like, American, oh my God, like, but there are also the people who are like, fuck you. Like, why are you moving to my country? Like, why are you living here? You don't speak Zulu? You don't speak Sutu? Get the fuck out of here, which I understand 100%. And I do my best to navigate those understandings of South Africans. But at the end of the day, there's still like my American accent, my ability to travel, and this is my home in South Africa. Pay for my home, leave when my visa needs to be renewed. All of these things that I contribute to the economy of South Africa, which I do very mindfully. Great question, because in America, like I personally don't think that like I don't allow racism to hold me back in my life. I may come from poverty in the 80s Los Angeles, but I've been very diligent to not let that stop me from succeeding in the goals that I want in my life. Here, that may be great and cool, but again, there's still this expectation of, I think people take advantage of me 100% here. And the only thing I can do is be like, it's expected, but it sucks. And then being not part of the cultural understanding of, again, the jokes, how people deal with elders, how people, it's such a different place. Yeah, like I said, I could write a book about being a Black American immigrant moving to South Africa who came here as part of like, it was great party. I went to Cape Town, Johannesburg. It's great. Oh my God, my dollars are great. But living here when the economy is getting worse, when BRICS has been an issue, when the country went through its elections after 30 years this year of democracy, it's a very intimate experience of living in this country and then navigating it as a Black American. And I won't go into very much detail, but like there was a point where I was detained in this country because like my American status did not matter. They were like, South Africa has issues with bureaucracy and like timeliness of visas and all these things. And I was impacted by that. And it was a very humbling experience. I had to sue the government of South Africa. I won, but it cost a lot of money to do that. And those are things I don't have to do in America. Like, even though it's a racist country, I'm a citizen and no one's gonna detain me. I'm a citizen, so there are a lot of things in South Africa that have been very difficult, but I think the exchange, it's been very beautiful, and I've grown a lot, but it has not been the easiest moment of my life. It has been very hard. So thank you for asking these questions. Again, I'm not trying to vent. I'm just like, I get to talk about my experience. So
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing all of that. And for folks who don't know and who have questions, right? Because I know I said, hey, I would love to live there. So it's like, thank you for that insight, right? And you won't know unless you are talking to a Black American who lives there, right? You don't get that same experience from asking somebody else. And so I appreciate that. I want to ask you, the name Kortney, how did that name choose you?
This is the first time someone has ever asked me about my name. Thank you, Sean. I'm so grateful for this. So Kortney is my birth name. My mother gave me, so my mother passed away this year, actually, in April. And so it's been a difficult year, business-wise, personally, growing as a person, bearing my mother, taking care of her financially, all of these things that have been a very intense 2024. But my mother gave me my birth name, which was Kortney. And when I started my social transition at like 21 years old, my middle name is Ryan. So I went in college, I was like, call me Ryan Ziegler. It's my name. I'm so grateful that my mom gave me a unisex name. But when I began my medical transition, I had an opportunity to change my name through the courts. And I was like, this is my name. I'm Kortney. I'm Kortney Ryan Ziegler. I cannot imagine being anybody else in my life. And I never thought of a name that I would give myself that I would go change it. And so I've never changed my name as a trans man. And I've been very blessed to have my name because my name is actually a name for Black men outside the United States of America who were born in the 80s. Cisgender Black men, their name in Jamaica, the UK, lots of places, their name is Kortney, Kortney. I didn't know that until like my 30s, but like I wanted to honor my mother for giving me this name, to never change it. And even to this day, I'll be out places. And again, people don't know who I am. What's your name? Kortney. Sometimes people are like, that's a girl's name. I was like, well, do you see a girl here? No. So like I pushed them to think differently about naming and things like that. But like, I love my name and I've never wanted to change it. And I'm so grateful that it's Kortney. And I'm so blessed to tell people who I am, and spell my name out for them and no qualms about it. And I've become very thick-skinned about like people being like, your name is not for you. And I was like, no, my name is for me. It's my name. So yeah, thanks for asking about my name.
Yeah, and big ups to your moms for giving you that. I think that's that name is cool. Kortney Ryan Ziegler.
It's a dope ass name, yeah, for sure.
It's made for you because I won't say because that's what your mother named you, right? Because some folks don't identify with their birth names, but it's made for you because you have accepted it and you taking it as your own and saying, yo, no, this is me. I'm keeping this. And it makes it beautiful and it makes it your name and it's meant for you, right? And so it did choose you in its own way.
Choose me. Yeah. To also be like you touched on, I feel like people always have expected me to change my name. Like, no, what's your name? Like, Kortney. I've never changed it. It's on all of my, from birth. I've only been Kortney Ryan Ziegler. But I felt like I'm so grateful for my mother. I felt like she knew my journey in life. And that's where I wanted to always honor, which it's part of my 40s, recognizing that my presence on the planet is connected to a larger thing beyond who I am. And there's no way that like my mother knew I wouldn't be naming me Kortney. So I'm very grateful for this. Sometimes I feel like left out, I think of the trans narrative because there's like a pattern you have to follow. There's like medical transition, social, like change your name, your dead name. It's like, I don't have that experience. I've never had to do that, or I've never wanted to do that. And so what does that mean for some of us who not everything, I think transition follows like the expected path of others. And so like what kind of diversity or different experiences that brings to the trans story, the trans narrative. So thank you for asking about my name. I talk often about my name with my wife. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so first I want to say I'm sorry for the loss of your mother. And you know, you. Yeah, and that's a hard journey. I lost my chosen mother earlier this year as well. So I know that's a hard journey to be in this space and to that person that gave you that motherly love is not here, right?
Hey, this is Jackal from Stealth, a Transmasculine podcast. Join me and my co-host Kai as we interviewed transmasculine elders about their experience growing into their authentic selves. The term stealth highlights two important facts. That one, for our generation, we were often told to hide our past and live an underground existence. And that due to that, our stories are very often overlooked. Throughout our lives, each of us has had to navigate issues of disclosure, which have impacted us in many ways. We also have a member section where you'll get to hear some amazing transmasculine history from Black jazz musicians to Mexican revolutionaries. We hope you join us for season 5 as we continue to emphasize that transmasculine folk have always been here and that we will continue to be here. Be sure to check out our website, transmasculinepodcast.com.
And so you said that you went to college at an early age, at 16. And so you found this book and you say, hey, this is who I am, right? And so who was the first person that you told?
It's a great question, Sean. Probably a girlfriend. That's a great question. I feel like, yeah. So when I saw this book, again, I would go by my name in college, Ryan, and there was no medical anything. The medical part came when I was like 25 years old, and I had a partner. She was probably the first person I told. I was like, no, I'm an FTM. At that point, it was FTM, female to male. That will probably been the first person I told, and they didn't support it. And they were like, are you sure you can give birth? You can carry babies? I was like, it's not my journey. Like, yes, I'm sure. So I think the first person I told was a lover, and they were very confused and not really understanding or supportive.
And so when you told your mother, and you said that your mother probably had an idea of who you were going to be, how did your mother receive you?
No, I've never told my mother. I never got a chance to tell her, ever. My mom was incarcerated the majority of my life. And I've told my family, no problem. My mother, the thing that sucks about my mom dying this year was like at the end of last year when I was 42, I was planning to corral my family to go visit my mother who is incarcerated because of her mental illness. And then like 3 months later, she died. So I never got a chance to tell her who I was. And before that, there was a moment where like I had called where she was incarcerated at, like maybe 10 years ago. And I was like, this is Kortney Ziegler. And I talked to my mom and she was like, I had a girl. And I was like, ask me my birthday, December 15, 1980. She's like, why do you know my daughter's birthday? And I was like, so there was this moment where I came out to my mom, but she didn't have the capacity and I wasn't there. She couldn't see who I was. So I missed the opportunity to do that. And so I feel like this entire year my grieving has been about like, I know my mom and the spirit world is here, that I believe so, but she didn't get to see me physically in the body that I am. And yeah, so I never got that chance. But my family has loved me ever since and has had no problems. And I know my mother would have never had any problem with who I am. I just never had a chance to talk to her about it. So,
and if you don't mind me asking, how are you moving to get peace in this moment?
Thank you. These questions are awesome, Sean. My mother's ashes are like right over there on my bookcase. And I feel like peace with my mother's death this year has been, I went to go see my family. I had to fly from South Africa to Los Angeles to see my family. I coordinated my mother's funeral. Like she was in the Navy, so I made sure to get a boat. We can scatter her ashes. So I took on a lot of responsibility that I didn't have ever in my life because there was a disconnect with my mother. So being like, oh my God, I now got to plan her funeral and do all these things, which was very difficult for me. I think in that moment, I've been finding peace. And again, my mother's ashes are like literally in my house right now. And I feel like that's helping me bring peace. But I don't think I'm fully there yet. And I think that like, I'm probably going to spend the next 2025 like really understanding grief and what's happening in my life, which I don't think I've fully understood this year. It's been kind of like, oh, this has happened. Let me go throw some money at it. But it's like the sadness is there. Like the what ifs that like, was I a bad ex-daughter? Was I a bad child? Like, did I not do enough to all of those things are there every day. But I find peace with hope and love and knowing that like whatever happening, I'm trying to do the best that I can to like take care of myself and also my family and honor my mother's legacy. So it's all over the place.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And my heart is with you to kind of like find that peace and to put everything together where it's needed. And it's kind of hard, right, when you lose somebody and unexpectedly and having to pick up those pieces when that wasn't, you know, a part of your journey or whatever. And so, you know, my heart goes to you to, you know, to really find that peace. And so, Kortney, like there's so many different things about you, like, you know, and I've been following your work and I follow you on, I won't say follow because you don't really follow folks on there, but on LinkedIn, I'm connected with you on LinkedIn. So you do a lot, you post a lot, you do a lot of things. And so you are a founder of WellMoney, and you previously co-founded a crowdfunding platform. And so finances is kind of where it's at, right? And so, and also you author a book, The Change Maker's Guide. And so you're doing a lot. Like I'm proud of you. Like you're doing a lot of work and putting in a lot of work. You want to talk about your career a little bit?
Yeah. I spent like the past like 15 to 16 years like building technology platforms that have been integral to helping other people in America who are perhaps marginalized or whatever word we're going to use. And I feel like it's been my life's path to leverage my access and resources that I have to help others. Because I come from nothing, I know what it's like to have nothing, and like it sucks. That shit sucks. And so, but I also know what it's like to have brilliance and intuition and genius and smarts and like all these things that maybe I can use to get money. And I've done a very good job of doing that to help others. And so that's all I've been doing for the past, like for my entire professional career, is building technology platforms to help others. It started with Trans H4CK. My current platform right now is called WellMoney, and it's to help Americans who cannot afford a like financial emergency of like $400, which is like over half of the country. And we have a big country, so like, yeah. But there's so many people with money in America, so much wealth, there's so much infinite wealth. So like, how can like I be Robin Hood and like take from the rich and give to the less than? So that has been my journey with all of the platforms that I build. How can I help people get money who have nothing? And yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I'm so grateful to be a conduit of helping others. It's been a lot of work. Because I think that like if you build anything, if you have money and you're selfless, that's great. If you want to be selfless without money, you got to build a solution that can generate money to help others. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And it has positioned me to be at the point in my life where I am now, to be like, had I had not done the work of building for others, I can now take care of myself. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, my trajectory of building multiple platforms to help people financially, all of the things that I've done to help people with my technologies, I've learned how to like center myself and take care of myself now. And I feel like that's the most valuable thing. And that may be like sound selfish to people listening, but like I've been, again, very blessed to help others. But at this point in my life, I'm very blessed to have helped others. So now that I can help myself and take care of myself, because I can't do awesome shit in the world if I'm like stressed, if I'm sick, like if I don't have the energy that I had in my 20s at all. Oh my God. Even sending an email now in my 40s, I got to plan for that 3 hours at least. So I'm very grateful to like have helped others to build up where I am now. And me writing a book is also a gift to myself because I've been a tech entrepreneur up until this year, and I don't want to do that anymore. I think I've done so much work where like I can provide a blueprint for others wanting to do the things that like perhaps I failed, I didn't have the right business acumen or something, like all of these things. But I don't want to like build the things from scratch anymore. I want to write a book now And I've been very grateful to have like not written my book that I'm writing, but people have bought it already because of my previous work history. So it's giving me space to write the book that I'm telling, and also again recognize how valuable that I am and being okay with that. So
And so how can, for folks listening, how can they get a copy of that book? Where can they get it?
yes, you can go to well-money.com/pre-order. That's WELL-money.com/pre-order. Yeah, I have a goal to sell 44 copies before my birthday on December 15th, and I've sold 10 so far. And that may seem like a little bit, but like I think with anybody building anything or selling anything, to get one person to buy it is a huge milestone. So if you get multiple people to buy it, it shows that what you have to say is important. And I know that what I have to say is important. So that's where I'm at in life now. Again, I'm very grateful to have raised millions and millions of dollars to help so many people, so many Americans. But now I'm focused on taking care of myself and my family, and not launching anything new or taking the lead of anything, because I cannot do it like anymore in my life. So
Yeah, and I know we don't have a lot of time here, but you mentioned your family, and so I want to mention this really quickly. And so there's so many things that when I see you that I really enjoy about your journey, and one of the things that I talked about with you was being a parent, and a while back you posted about being a parent. I'm also a dad, and so I got my relationship with my son through my partner. And so you said in your post a while back of like you're not saying you're a step parent, but saying that you're a bonus parent. And I really love to hear that, right? And so sometimes, like as trans folks, we don't think that we can be fathers, we can be parents, we can be bonus parents, right? And so what does that mean for you in your identity to like now have a family and to be raising a child? How does that feel for you?
Thank you for asking about that. Yeah, it's something that I'm like learning to deal with every single day of my life. And I think that I've had to take a lot of my ego out of it, because at first I was like, my ego was like, I have money, I can help you. And that wasn't the right way of approaching, I think, being an important father, authoritative figure in anybody's life. Now it has become more about like, man, I have to have like create safe memories where I have to be emotionally secure and grown in how I deal with you, to help you mature as an adult. It's a lot of things that, like, as you know, to be a bonus parent, especially a man. I think there's so many things that like, not to go into too much detail, but like to raise like a cis male child who's going through puberty. I've never done that as a male. Like I don't, but I'm there. Like you asking me questions, I can Google and like do my best to articulate and support. And that's a very beautiful experience. Because like I've never really connected with children in the way that I'm doing now. And it's a choice that I'm doing, but it's a choice that is grounded in love, number one, and the desire to see a brilliant young human have support in the ways that maybe it wasn't that I had support as a child, but I was supported. Like, even though I come from poverty, I was supported in poverty. Every kid deserves that. So if I can do that and also like have a loving partnership and build a family out of it, that's awesome. But like, it's been a very interesting and amazing and very life-changing experience being this bonus parent to a cisgender Black boy. It's awesome. It's a lot though, but it's lots.
Yeah, it is a lot though, but I'm glad that you are the person that's doing it, and you're leading with love and knowledge, and being okay to say, you know what, I don't have that experience, but I'm gonna ask Google, right? So
Yeah,
that's something that our parents or folks that raised us did not have, right? They did the best that they
yeah,
could with what they have, and now now your side parent is Google, because now you can just ask Google questions,
yeah.
right? Right.
But
So
I feel like I also feel like a lot of patience that I have with parenting and even providing space to even go do the Googles that my being raised by my grandmother and my extended family didn't have. They taught me it's okay to be a child and make mistakes and be inquisitive and have your brain not developed for another 20 years. Um, I'm so grateful for that experience because I can bring it to this experience and be like, oh my God, you have attitude. I'm calm. I know that you're going through it, whatever. But like, yeah, I based my parenting on trying to create the less trauma and the most amount of love and respectful memories in this young human's life for myself and himself, right? So um yeah, I read literature all day. Like sometimes if it's a bad day, you read the bad internet shit like fuck being a stepdad, like and then sometimes you read the like beautiful shit where like people who are like cis or trans men, just men. My God, it's the most beautiful, affirming experience of my life. And I don't have to compete online with the ideas of taking care of someone else's child. That shit doesn't even make sense. All children should be taken care of. Like, what are we talking about for one thing? It's a beautiful experience to be able to nurture a growing child. Like, that's awesome. And I feel like it's one of the things that drives my professional life 100% now in ways that I never did before. And because of that, my professional experience has been much better because I have different responsibilities that like I want to meet with a less amount of trauma and pain. Um, so I love it being this bonus parent. Um, I've become very aware of who I am in a lot of different ways. Had I had not had this experience, so
yes, I'm so grateful. I know as a parent, I led with intention. I know that I didn't want to talk to my child. I grew up in a verbally abusive home, physically abusive. I knew that intentionally, I wanted to always say the right things and do the right things, and
yep,
to lead with love. So that's so important.
yep.
And so, Kortney, this is the part of the show where I love to ask my guests a random question. And so I have a list of questions that's constantly growing. I have 62 questions now. I'm not going to ask you all of them, but just pick a
Okay.
number between 1 and 62, and I'll read you that question. But one thing that I'm doing now is I want you to take one and leave one. So I want you to answer a question, but then leave one for a future guest to answer.
Okay, I choose 12.
Number 12 says, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Chocolate chip, which they call stracciatella here in South Africa. They don't have chocolate chip. So yeah, chocolate chip.
Wow, chocolate chip.
Why
Mine is
not chocolate chip?
yeah, you're right. I ain't gonna say nothing about chocolate chip. You can have it. My favorite is pralines and cream.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to leave a question for a future guest to answer?
Pralines. Where do you like to enjoy your favorite ice cream? That would be an addendum to that question.
Okay. Where do you like to enjoy your favorite ice cream? Got you.
Mhm.
I like my ice cream in the wintertime. I think it's better to eat ice cream in the cold. So that's what I do. And my favorite place to eat it
You
is
like
in the
it?
bed.
Yeah, in the cold.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Kortney, man, it's been a pleasure to have you here on this show. You are everything that I expected Kortney to be. You are an amazing
Oh, thank you.
human being, and thank you for just all the work that you are doing in this world and leaving these lasting these impressions on folks, just from the documentary to WellMoney to like all of these things that you are creating to help folks. And so I want to say thank you so much for that. And is there any last words you want to say to folks that are listening?
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate the space that you've given to, again, like allow me to document my journey. I'm a living trans person. I'm not dead yet, and I feel like it's important to get the stories when we are alive. So thank you for this. And like enjoy life. It took me a long time to figure that out, and professionally, personally, and all the things, but like enjoy life. Time is fleeting, 100%. And just love as best as you can. So that would be my advice. Not business advice or anything, just like normal human advice. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to even share that and talk about it. I appreciate it.
Possibility, you know we them boys, them boys, amplifying, transmitting color voices, we here making noise, making noise, them boys, we them boys.